नमः दतिक्रावण्णो अकारिशं जिष्णोरश्वस्य वाजिनः सुरभिनो मुखाकरत् प्रणआयुगं शितारिषत् आपोहिष्टामयो भुवः तान ऊर्जे दधातना महेरणाय चक्षसे यो वः शिवतमो रसः तस्य बाजे ते हनः उशतीरिव मातरः तस्मा अरङ्गमामवो यस्य क्षयाय जिन्वतापोचन यताचनः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः. This is actually saying, this is also part of the Sandhyavandana mantra. This is for prokshana, kind of cleansing the outside. Okay. So let's start the Gita. न्यस्तात्मीय परं वरप्रदगुरौ वैराग्यभाग्यो ददौ वेदान्तामृतसारवन्तमनघात् श्रीश्रीनिवासात् गुरोः श्रीशैलान्वयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयो निधे श्रीनिधेः वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेलिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णसद्धेशिकम् गीतासु गीताकर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रसङ्ग्रहैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मात् विनिसृता मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्बसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनम्. The last very long break. So we left at this, evam pravartitan chakram nanavartayati hayah aghayurindriya ramo mogham parthasa jivati. Everything in life is give and take, give and take. If you break that cycle, if we don't do that, we are almost like a thief. And she said another example of how telephone call chain, if you break, it's something like that. We'll actually living in sin. It's a mogam parthasa jivati. Because the wheel of life, we should sustain it. When we indulge in our own self-gratification and be careless about anything else, we live in mind basically violating the natural order. So now exactly opposite of that what personality talks about in this. Yastat maratirev syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. But this is for one. Yaha tu atmarati eva. This person is delighted in the self itself. So he's atma triptascha, he is self-satisfied, delighted in the self. That kind of a person is fully self-satisfied. For such a person, tasya karyam na vidyate. This person has no agenda in life. There is nothing that needs to be accomplished by this person. Basically, this person pulling on a sharira yatra pichate, just pulling on what is needed for the basic maintenance of life. So, but those who find joy, satisfaction, fulfillment solely in the Atman have nothing left to accomplish. I have seen few people like that in my life, and one of them actually was my niece's husband, second husband of her, and she came here to help her daughter have a baby. She was becoming a mother. As soon as she arrived here, he passed away. It was a what we call as very very easy exit with no clue, uh, kind of sukamaranam. So my niece was little really confused. What should she have to go back, rush back for all the rest of the rituals of unchastity, and she was confused. And she called me. I said, I know your husband who just passed away. I recited this sloka to her. Yastvatmaratirev syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. There is nothing left to accomplish for him. There is nothing left for others to do anything for that person. So anyway, the beauty of Gita is you can always find some words to console. Just like Gandhi said, whenever he was depressed or feeling light or feeling down, he would read one or two verses of Gita would elevate him. Let's go to the word. Yastvat marati reva syat
स्वात्मरतिरेव स्याद्
आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः
आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः
आत्मन्यैव च सन्तुष्टः
आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः
तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते.
तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते.
So next it continues the same theme. So, नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थौ व्यपाश्रयः. So such kind of people have nothing to gain uh, by doing anything. Na kriteneva kaschana, by performing action, and nothing to lose by not doing it. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose. They are not dependent on anyone or anything. Achasya sarva bhuteshu. They're in all beings, they are not dependent on anything. Kaschit, not anyone. They have no artha for it. Artha is one of the purushartha. They have no such things. So they have nothing, this kind of people, to gain by performing action, and nothing to lose by renouncing action. They are not dependent on anyone or anything. Naiva tasya kritenartho
नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो
na kriteneha kaschana
नाकृतेनेह कश्चन
na chasya sarva bhuteshu
न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु
कश्चिदर्थौ व्यपाश्रयः.
कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः.
So now he advises him, so follow this kind of approach to action. Tasmat asakta satatan karyang karma samachara. Asakto hi yacharan karma, asakto hyacharan karma, paramapnoti purushaha. So he advises tasmat, therefore, um, engage in action in this form, in a detached way. Asakta, do your work in spirit of detachment. Karma samachara, with a detachment, and you will attain the highest level. Asakta, when you do asaktahi acharan karma, when you do detached in any action, paramapnoti purusha, he is the highest level. So our person following today is also parama, so it's parama, paramapnoti purusha. Paramapnoti purusha, highest level of, that's the highest level of one you can attain. If you ever engage in action, but you are totally uh, not interested. It is not, we don't have any asakti in that. It's full detachment. Tasmad asakta satatam
तस्मादसक्तः सततं
karyang karma samachara.
कार्यं कर्म समाचर.
Asakto hyacharan karma
असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म
paramapnoti purushaha.
परमाप्नोति पूरुषः.
Here important to remember, the indifference should be, you should not be indifferent in action. Indifference should be the outcome of action. It is not like they say in Kannada, katachara. It's not like that. Do it fully, full dedicated to action, but totally uninterested in the outcome. So you're indifferent to the outcome. Okay. So then he gives example of people. So it's not a theoretical thing. He shows example. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadaya lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartu marhasi. So he says that karmani eva hi samsiddhim. They found fulfillment in action itself uh, for the purpose of lokasangraha, for the good of the world. So these are the people like asthita. Those people are uh, they attained that for Janakadayaha. Janaka, King Janaka of Mithila, who is father of Sita in Ramayana. Janakadayaha means there are other people also. Janaka is Janaka, etc. Other people like Janaka. So Loka Sang, their whole purpose was welfare of the world. Loka Sangraha me va api sampasyan kartumarhati. So considering, keeping that in mind, when you act, that is the way you should act, Krishna is telling him. Janaka and others attained perfection, samsiddhi, by just doing their work for the welfare of the world. So they should be your example. You too should work like them. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्
astita janakadayah
आस्थिता जनकादयः
lokasangrahamevapi
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
sampashyan kartumarhasi.
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
Yeah, we talked about Jivan Mukta examples and things like that. Even this kind of people are also Jivan Muktas, but they're active, but they're acting. All their action is for the welfare of the world. So they're active Jivana Mukta, Jivan Mukta. There are some people who may be recluse, like Ramana Maharshi, people like that who basically withdrawn, and people who are not necessarily too much into action. But there are many people who are dedicated to action. One of my friend was telling, was my longtime friend, he's also in this, he communicated to me that people like Swami Chinmayananda and people like that who very dedicate their whole life once they once they started their mission uh, for the welfare of the world, no particular agenda. They may have a brand, but not necessarily they're attached to it. So they are also kind of Jivan Muktas, but they are kind of uh, kinetic Jivan Muktas, you can say, instead of static Jivan Muktas. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim. Did we do that already? Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim.
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्
Astita janakadayah.
आस्थिता जनकादयः
Lokasangrahamevapi.
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
Sampashyan kartumarhasi.
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
So now he elaborates that why. So yadyat acharati shreshtaha tatta deve itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokaha tadanu vartate. So he says, great people acharati shreshtaha, whatever yat acharati shreshtaha, yadyat acharati shreshtaha, whatever the great people do, tat deva, that itself, tat eva itaro janaha. So other people use it. It's a model for role model for other people. So they establish whatever standard they establish. Ayat pramanam kurute. The world follows that. People follow that. Lokaha tat anuvartate. So whatever a great man says, uh, an example by his actions, the whole world follows the standard that he sets. He kind of reminding Arjuna that if you run away from battle, you will be setting a bad precedent. Even a great warrior like that walked away, it had like that, not doing what he was supposed to do, his duty. So, yadyada charati shreshtaha
यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः
tattadeve taro janaha
तत्तदेवेतरो जनः
sayat pramanam kurute
स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते
lokas tadanu vartate.
लोकस्तदनुवर्तते.
So it's in one of Swami Chinmayananda's pravachans, he was talking about this verse. He said, today, Shreshtas are film actors, film stars. So everyone follows their fashion style. Sadhana cut was there in 1960s. Afterwards, sadhana cut came to the whole rest of the people in 5 or 10 years later. So he was kind of making fun that because that's what whom we look up to, we follow their fashion, their style, things like that. So then he talks about the Supreme here. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. Is that it is nothing for me to accomplish in this world. Uh, in this Name Partha Asti Kartavyam, in three worlds, Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana, nothing in the three worlds. So if I did that, if I did that, if I nothing to be accomplished or obtained by me for this, nothing to be attained by me by action, but still I act. So still I am Vartayeva Chakarma. I continue, yet I continue to my work. So so it is telling that he has nothing to do. It's very interesting, very similar verse is in Quran also. Quran says, don't complain. Uh, I made some people excel better than somebody else. So don't complain why I made you not so good as the others. Just keep on do whatever your level you can do. Just like me, I am always acting. It almost looks like this verse is transplanted there. Name parthasti kartavyam
मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम्
trishu lokeshu kinchana
त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन
nana vaptam avaptavyam
नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम्
varta evacha karmani.
वर्त एव च कर्मणि.
So if I did not do, what happens? See, edihyaham na varteyam jatu karmanya tandritaha mama vartmana vartante manusyaha partha sarvashaha. Edi he aham na varteyam. If I did not act, uh, then what happens is, if I fail to work tirelessly, humans, all the jatu, they blindly follow my example and sit idle without working. Edihyaham na varteyam
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
jatu karmanya tandritaha
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
mama vartmanu vartante
मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते
manusyaha partha sarvashaha.
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
It's kind of interesting. If it's very cloudy, if the sun did not rise, we don't feel like even getting up in the morning. We also sleep late. Of course, now all the things have changed. We have electricity, even if there is no light outside, no sun, we still have light. But if you, in a natural setting, if there is full of cloud, we also feel gloomy. It's very well known that people who live in the state of Oregon, where very cloudy, it's rainy, drizzling all the time, they say that people look highly depressed because they're kind of mimicking the nature. How the nature is. We always see when the nice, bright nature, we also become equally bright. Outside is dull, we become dull. So it is like that. So, edihyaham navarteyam
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
jatu karmanya tandritaha
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
mama vartmanu vartante
मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते
manushya partha sarvashaha.
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
And he continues what happens if you did that. Utside urime lokaha na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam ima prajaha. So if I did not do work, these worlds would perish. And I would be the cause of sankarasya cha karta. I will be the cause of sankara is confusion, mixing up. I would be the cause of confusion and chaos. Uh, I would be the one who destroy the beings. I will be the cause of destruction of this world itself. It's there. If I did not work, these worlds will perish. So if we say everything around us, it's always in motion. The world is always in motion. If it stops, you know what happens. So I would be the cause of confusion and chaos. So I would be the one who destroyed all these beings. Imam Prajaha. Utside Urime Lokaha.
सीदेयुरिमे लोकाः
न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहं
न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहं
शङ्करस्य च कर्ता स्याम्
शङ्करस्य च कर्ता स्याम्
उपहन्याम् इमाः प्रजाः.
उपहन्यामिमाः प्रजाः.
There is some caution here. Many translators, Sankara just means mixing up and confusion. So it is, I will be the cause of confusion and chaos. Lot of, in many translations, once we see the Sankara word, immediately they call it as Varna Sankara. So it says, if I am not working, I will be causing the confusion in the caste, mixing up the caste. That's how some people translate. But I don't think here Sankara is just mixing up chaos, confusion. That's all. It is not Varna Sankara or anything like that. If God is not working, not that the mixing up of the caste will happen. So that is, I think, in our opinion, it's a wrong translation. So Sankara just made causing confusion. The same theme continues here. Saktaha karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tatha saktaha chikirshur loka sangraha. So there are people, ignorant people, they work with some intentions, personal benefit. Saktaha karmanya vidya. They're interested in personal benefit. So, but whereas a wise kuryat vidvam, tatha asaktaha. That person does, a wise person acts without, uh, for the welfare of the world, for loka sangraha, without any, uh, not for personal benefit. In a way, they may consider that as a personal benefit, something good coming to the world, it's not their personal, for their own benefit, for the benefit of the world, that they consider as, that's how the wise are. So the ignorant ones work for personal gain, for personal benefit. But the wise should work, at least wise should work for the welfare of the world. One who knows better should do work, should not have a personal, uh, look at the personal gain or personal benefit. One who knows, a wise person better should act for the good of the world. Taktah karmanya vidvamso
कर्मण्य विद्वांसो
yatha kurvanti bharata
यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत
kuryat vidvams tatha saktah
कुर्याद्विद्वांस्तथा सक्तः
chikirshur loka sangraham.
चिकीर्षुर् चिकीर्षुर्लोकसङ्ग्रहम्.
Yeah, when you have tatha saktaha, it becomes tata asaktaha. So tata saktaha, without any personal benefit. Then having said that, how the otherwise act with personal benefit, for personal benefit, wise act with for loka sangra, for welfare of the world, then he says, but what they should do, should they look down on other people who are not like us? That's not true. That's what he says here. Na buddhi bedam janayet agnanam karma sangina joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Buddhi Bedam is they should not disrupt the mind of people. Don't look down on them. Don't criticize them. Don't unsettle their mind. Now, Buddhi Bedam Janayet, of whom? Of Agnana, of people who are otherwise, who are not wise, who are karma sangis, who are acting with their own personal gain in their as their goal. So for such people, don't confuse them. Don't look down on them. Don't confuse them. Whereas you, Joshaye Sarva Karmani, you do without, a Vidwan should do all the without any attachment in a, that should be the, he should he should be enlighten other people. Joshaye Sarva Karmani. Uh, he should cause as a good example. He should delight other people by acting like that, right? The wise should not discourage the ignorant, one who are attached to action. Wise should inspire them to learn detachment by example. They should continue to work selflessly themselves and joyfully. That should be, they should set as an example. Uh, even if we are not a good, we know what is good in this world. Who is good? We know that even if we ourselves may not be that. So that should be a good example. This is also very important when somebody is trying to learn something, like music or anything. Um, Obviously, the person teaching them will be expert in that or better than the student. They should not look down. They should not too much criticize. If the student is still trying to learn something, or even if the goal of the student may be um, for some personal benefit to become good singer and get name and things like that, they should not. Eventually, they will realize all of them as they grow out of that, they rejoice in doing it just for the pleasure of the world. We should not be hasty in correcting others. If we do that, we will be snubbing them, and we may be derailing even from doing anything. Buddhi vedam janayet
बुद्धिभेदं जनयेत्
agnanam karma sanginam
अज्ञानां कर्मसङ्गिनां
joshayet sarva karmani
योषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि
vidvan yuktah samacharan.
विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन्.
Then he talks about what is making us to act. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. So all actions are created by nature, driven by the basic nature of us. All actions are driven by the gunas. Gunai karmani sarvashaha. Uh, those are the ones who are driving us into action. So one who is deluded, ahankara, vimudhatma, who is a egoistic and who is deluded person, thinks that I am the one who is doing. Actually, what is we are we are just we are doing as directed by our gunas, our inherent gunas. That's what drives us into action. Everyone is acting, but not everyone is doing the same thing. Whatever they do is driven by their inherent gunas or nature. Prakritehe gunak kriya Prakritehe kriyamanani
प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि
gunai karmani sarvashaha
गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः
ahankara vimudhatma
अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा
kartaha miti manyate.
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते.
So having realized that how the gunas are the ones which are driving us into whatever we do, and he elaborates on that. Tattva vittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Tattvavit, one who knows that, O Mahabaho Arjuna, they understand, having known that the gunas drive us into what we do, they also understand there is a relation, of course, between guna and karma, because it's a guna which is direct karma. They see that. And not only that he told in the previous verse, it is the gunas driving us to action. Furthermore, guna guneshu vartanta. They also, gunas are influenced by gunas. Uh, they act in accordance with the gunas. Gunas act in accordance with the gunas. Knowing that, they are not moved. They don't get perturbed. Iti matva na sajjate. You know that gunas drive us into action. Then the gunas are influenced by gunas. So this is a kind of a enigmatic line. Guna guneshu vartanta. So the literal translation will, gunas will act in accordance with the gunas. Um, there are there are two ways of looking at it. Some people translate it, leave it like that. Gunas will act in accordance with the gunas and leave it like that. Some people say that because we have all the three gunas, it's not just one guna. So this guna is all dealing with, because we always have a mix. So it is mixing, acting with the gunas. In accordance, like sattva guna is not completely sattva. It is influenced by the other gunas. It is influenced by tamasic guna and rajo guna. So they are all interplay between those gunas. Guna guneshu vartanta. But in this context, actually, the translation we loved the most is how Dr. D.V. Gundappa translated it. He said that gunaha is our guna, whatever it is, three guna, mix of guna, everything, all our gunas. And guneshu, and whatever includes the triguna and everything, we have our guna, our nature. And guneshu is the society we live in. So we conform. It's not, we are not Robinson Crusoe. No person is an island. So we are always living in the world. So our gunas are impacted by the guna of the society we live in. So it is not exactly the same what, like I came from Bangalore to America. My guna is same. It did not change. Same person, lived there for 25 years. When I come here, now I am exposed to a totally different setting here compared to at least in 1978 when I came. India was India, America was America. They were poles apart. And if you realize that 1978, we were the farthest from America as much as possible, as opposite, not only in the globe, because the globe we are exactly in the opposite direction. In every way, we are pulled away completely from America. That is years of Indira Gandhi's emergency, and we are completely out of the American pocket. Even the Coca-Cola company was shut down in Bangalore, and USIS was shut down. And our knowledge of surrounding life in America was very minimal. No TV at that time, no internet. Now it doesn't matter whether you live in Chamarajpete or whether you live in Cincinnati. A lot of things are, we know what is going on. So when I came here, everything is different here. So I am the same person, but my guna is impacted by the guna of Houston compared to guna of Jayanagar second block or Bangalore or India. So that influence, that changes everything. So we should not get perturbed. This uh, is a lot of trouble people have when they move from one place to another. Oh, that is the right way. That is the way it should be. Because they are used to a particular kind, and if something changes with the surroundings, they are not able to adjust immediately. That is human nature. But once we realized, we always have Desha, Kala, Dharma, and Sanatana Dharma. Everything is impacted by time and place. So that's what this verse is telling. And this is not a uh, matter of simple thing. I still remember we are originally from village of Talakadu. My dad was the first one to move out of that to Bangalore. No other Talakadu relatives came. So he was 1927, he moved out. He always, as long as he lived, at least I left India in 78, he was close to 78, by then 75. He was always thinking we should always go back to Talakadu because that is the way it is in Talakadu. Bangalore is different. So this kind of everything is different. There you go and take a bath in the Kaveri River, and here you, you take bath in your bathroom, and he was always missing that. So this happens to all of us. Here also, when I came to States here, I was here the temple opens at 9 o'clock. India, it was earlier. It closes, there it closes by 10 or 11. Here, it's closest by noon. Everything. Here, Sunday is the big temple day. There we are Friday or Saturday. So everything changes. Everything is upside down. So once we realize that, we don't get perturbed. You'll be surprised that I came to Cincinnati in 93, and the temple here was completely run by the Northern Indian style. It was Punjabis and Kaistas, and it was nothing like our Southern Indian Gopuram kind of temple, anything. 99% of the people are Southern Indian origin, kept away from the temple. I did not know anything. When we moved to Cincinnati, I thought temple will be a good community to meet people. So I went there. I saw only Sinhas and Singhs, and I did not see any Kannada or any South Indian people. Then there were only one or two. So I was even wondering whether this place doesn't have Then they gave me some number, call these people because no, people are not coming to this temple, we should encourage. So I called, we're sponsoring a worship, why don't you? Oh, is it in Dayton temple? They said. The Dayton temple was like Gopuram temple, just like our temple we are used to in southern India. So no, I told Cincinnati temple. So it takes a long time because we don't realize temple is temple, but we get caught up by that. So, Tattvavittu Mahabaho
त्ववित्तु महाबाहो
Gunakarma Vibhagayoho
गुणकर्मविभागयोः
Guna Guneshu Vartanta
गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्तः
Iti Matva Nasajjati.
इति मत्वा न सज्जते.
So we conform, like Will Durant said, all our mannerism conform to our surroundings. So it is, maybe I should give you another funny story, a funny example from my life itself. We were making a presentation in Belgium for a technical presentation. After that, they said, well, it was after lunch, we had lunch. There is a beach very close by here. Why don't you enjoy that beach and then go back to wherever you were going, they said. So myself and my colleague, this was in early 1990s, we were all dressed up in suit and tie, everything. So we went to that beach. It turned out that it's a nude beach. So we were thinking, we felt so awkward, so embarrassed, so ashamed with three-piece suit walking around in that nude beach. So we walked around for a few steps. Then we removed our jacket, we removed our tie, we removed our shirt. We were walking around topless. So it's kind of how we uh, adjust ourselves to our mannerism to adjust to the surroundings. So this is a very, very meaningful verse. And I must say, this is one verse where Dr. Gundapa's way he looked at it really added a lot of value, meaning to this. Prakriter gunasammoodaha sajjante gunakarmasu tana Krishna vido mandan Krishna vinna vishalayet. But those who are fooled by the gunas are attached to the actions caused by them. The wise should not disturb such fools. In other words, uh, once we uh, realize that all our actions are driven by the gunas, so we should not get attached to them. We are just gunas are there. We have it goes. It makes us to act. So act. So don't be influenced too much by that. Don't get attached to the actions caused by them. The property of rain will, when it's raining. No point in going and standing under that. If you hold an umbrella, because it's a natural thing for it to rain, you should not let it to come in your way. You should protect yourself. Same way, these gunas are natural things happening to us. They're driving us into action, but we should not get attached to it. Realize that it is gunas making us to act. We should rise above that. Okay? So, but the wise should not disturb such fools. But some people are completely attached to action. It's the same theme. Now, buddhi vedam janayet, continuation of the same theme here. Prakriter guna sammudaha. Param, yeah. Prakriter guna sammudaha.
प्रकृतेर्गुणसम्मूढाः
Sajjante guna karmasu.
सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु
Tana Krishna vido mandan.
तान् कृत्स्नविदो मन्दान्
Krishna vinna vichalayet.
कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत्.
So this is many places Krishna gives us something to lean on. So this is one of those verses for this chapter. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatachvara. He says, Mai here is the supreme. It's not exactly to Devaki's son Krishna. The supreme. Dedicate all your action to the supreme. bring supreme purpose to all your actions. Mai sarvani karmani. Then focus your mind. Basically, sanyas adhyatma chetasa. Focus on that one. And then free yourself, nirashir nirmamo bhutva. To say from desire and delusion or attachment to that, yudhyasva vigatajaraha. Engage in the battle. To bring supreme purpose to it, dedicating it to the supreme, and then focus on the supreme. So you're dedicating it to the supreme, focusing on the supreme, then free yourself of possession and desire. Nirashir nirmamo bhutva. No asha, uh, no kind of desire for that, no kind of possessiveness. Oh, this is mine, mine, like that. Nirmamo bhutva. Vigata jvaraha, that is cast off your mental fever without any kind of mind perturbed like that, then engage in battle. So this is directly, of course, for us to engage in anything we do. For Arjuna is telling engage in battle like that. Mai sarvani karmani
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि
sanyasyadhyatma chetasa
सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा
nirashir nirmamo bhutva
निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा
yudhyasva vigatajvaraha.
युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः.
This kind of theme comes few other times in Gita. Whatever we do, bring it a supreme purpose, dedicate it to the supreme, and then act without attachment to it. Yeme matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto anasuyanto uchyante tepi karmabhihi. So those who sincerely follow my me matam, this is my teaching, my opinion. Mata, like they say for ballot, also casting vote, matadana, we say. It's an opinion. Name of religion itself is mata in us. That is an opinion. Mata. This is who sincerely, Shraddhavanta, who sincerely follow my teaching without finding fault in it. Obviously, anasuyanto, fault, don't find fault in the teaching. Follow it with sincerity, without finding fault. Such a people are also liberated from actions. Once you follow this, sincerely practice teaching, what he has taught so far, without finding fault, without kunishte, right? Without kunishte. So those two are also liberated. Yeme matamidam nityam
ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम्
anutishtanti manavaha
अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः
shraddhavanto nasuyanto
श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तो
muchyante tepi karmabhihi.
मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः.
So you're acting with Vishwasa. Whatever he has taught so far, you have some kind of a faith in that, not finding fault. So now the opposite of that, etve tadabhyasuyanto nanu tishtanti me matam sarvagnana vibhudanstan viddhi nashtana chetasaha. He's saying that, but those who condemn the teaching he taught, my teaching, and don't follow it, na anutishtanti me matam, my teaching, they condemn it and they don't follow it. Such a kind of people, sarvagnana vibhudanstan, they are completely devoid of wisdom. They are utterly deluded, lost, and viddhi nashtana cheta, know them as wasted life kind of thing. They are utterly deluded, lost, and mindless. It's kind of saying it in very straightforward. If you find fault in it and don't follow this, and it means such a person is devoid of wisdom. They are utterly deluded. Etve tadabhyasuyanto
ये त्वेतदभ्यसूयन्तो
nanu tishtanti me matam
नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम्
sarvagnana vimoodanstan
सर्वज्ञानविमूढांस्तान्
विद्धि नष्टान चेतसः.
विद्धि नष्टान चेतसः.
We'll do one more verse and go to Cherry with Harry on the top. Okay. Sadrasham chestate swasyaha prakritir gnanavanapi prakriti yanti bhutani nigraha king karishyasi. We cannot live our nature. We tend to follow our inner. We have to be, we say in Kannada, huttu guna sutturu hogolla. Whatever we came up with, even if it is burnt, it won't go away. People tend to follow their inherent nature. Uh, So even the wise people also, nanavanapi, even the wise ones have to act within the constraints. They cannot run away from their own constraints of their inherent nature. So what is the use of superficial restraint? It will be a hypocrisy. We all have our particular nature which is driving us to do something, whether we wise or otherwise. We have to, no point in trying to superficially restrain it. So people tend to follow. We all follow our own inherent nature. Even the wise one act within the constraints of the nature, inherent nature. So what is the use of um, superficial restraint or trying to restrain? Sadrishan chestate swasyaha
सदृशं चेष्टते स्वस्याः
prakriter gnanavanapi
प्रकृतेर्ज्ञानवानपि
prakritin yanti bhutani
प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि
nigraha king karishyati.
निग्रहः किं करिष्यति.
Yeah, so we are all impelled by our own sides. Funnily, Joseph Campbell says that, like in the biblical tradition, we were created because of disobedience, that was a sin. Uh, that's it. Joseph Campbell says creation itself was a sin because it separated us away. It drove us into all this inherent nature, and now we have to go back like that. So he was telling creation itself is a fall. He didn't say sin. They say the first fall in the Bible. He says creation itself is a fall. So I will stop here and we will open it for any words of wisdom from Hari and any discussion from any.
Nothing from to add from my side. I think pretty clear whatever you had. Especially the tricky one was the guna gudeshu vartanta,
Yeah.
and I think that is you discussed that very well.
Yeah. That verse, until I saw D.V. Gundapas, so many, all of them say in Kannada, Gunagalu Gunagalali Vartisate. Gunas act in accordance with the gunas. So it was kind of, wasn't, I think he brought it out very beautifully.
Yeah,
In fact, we see that in our real life example, how people get annoyed by not able to be able to fit into uh, what changing times and changing surroundings. One funny example was when we had our temple Prana Pratishthapana Murti. The deities go through different kinds of Jaladi Vasa, Dhanyadi Vasa, this Vasa, that Vasa, different things. The Murtis go through that. One of them is Panchagavya Vasa. So the different things coming from the cow, right? The milk, the ghee, the uh, including the urine and the dung, everything. So I told them I don't think we can find a good dung here in Cincinnati. All uh, the cow dung in Cincinnati is not same as the kind of cow dung we had in India with grass-fed cows. Here, Yagdena Yagnam Ayajanta Deva, cows are fed cow meat itself, or the cow intestine, everything. So that is, but our priest insisted that I should bring some dung from many farms are there nearby. Finding cow dung is not a problem, but they are not the kind who would have used it. I asked him, how much should I bring? Bring about lemon size. I said, how about in the toothpick size, in the tip of the toothpick? So that should satisfy the symbolism or ritual. So that's what I did, because I went there. That fellow said, you take as much as you want. And I looked at it. it was not the kind of cow dung we are used to. It literally bullshit. So basically, I just so he was kind of very perturbed. But I told him, don't worry, it should be okay. The whole idea is hygiene. The use of cow dung is for hygiene. So you could use some dishwasher soap or hand washer soap. That should work.
One small, I mean, technical point is that for when you mentioned about Jivan Mukta, see, a Jivan Mukta is a person who has gone beyond any requirements, um, and is not actively pursuing Loka Sangraha with a certain intention.
Mhm.
But because he has realized every action of his or her becomes a Loka Sangraha.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
any active person who is working, like an active social worker,
Mhm.
they are having intention of supporting people and helping people, and by doing this social work, their ego or their personal thing is being fulfilled.
Mhm.
So even that, although it is resulting in a help for the larger society, at the end of the day, it is going towards satisfying one's ego. But in the case of a Jivan Mukta, a realized person, none of these things matter. So if they are asked to give a lecture, they may do that. The next day, if they are not asked to give a lecture, they may not, they won't get perturbed at all, because for them the entire thing is like a leela,
Yeah.
Bhagavad Leela. So that's a small difference. But again, it's not like a one and a zero in when it's a non-Jivan Mukta. So Jivan Mukta is one, but then there is a lot of gradation. So we have the sadhana patha, where slowly we are trying to elevate ourselves. So it's not like you put on a switch and you are there, and if you put off the switch, you are nobody. It's not like that. So it's just something I thought I'll mention.
Yeah, that's very true. I was just mentioning that some people who are very dynamic, acting for the welfare, so they may not be exactly to that level Jivan Muktas, but gradually that's how we'll grow into.
Yeah.
Like many artists, I remember initially they want to be very famous, right? They're really looking for audience, they flyers, and they're really very much interested in promoting whatever their brand. Uh, then eventually they come to a stage when they really don't care. They're still same artists. They're not as attached, they're not as uh, important getting audience, getting paid. They're not too much interested in that. They're enjoying, they're just doing it. So,
Yeah, it's like this story of the guy who hears that there is a lot of Raja Shreya in this place, and the king is giving out a lot of money and uh, privileges to people who know Bhagavata and Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these epics, who can speak
yeah.
very eloquently about them. So he starts studying all the epics in great detail. and the king doesn't call him. So he's very disappointed. He says, "What is this? I've studied all these things. The king is not calling. Anyway, okay, let me become better at this. Let him, whenever he calls me, I will be equipped." He starts reading it, and after a point, he says, "This is so good. I don't need some stupid king to
Exactly.
call me because
Yeah.
there's so much here. I already have a great time." So initially, he's looking for using this as a means, but after a point of time, this is already like so good. You don't
Yeah,
need anything more.
exactly. Okay, very good. I'm glad you brought it up. It brings me an anecdote involving your other uncle. Arya Prasad, I mentioned digital Veda Vyasa. When we introduced him to Veda Prasar Samiti tapes, then he was telling, what all should I learn so that I will be given the highest pedestal in Ahobila Matam, he said. He was joking with me. How much should I learn? How much of the Vedas and how much of the Tamil Prabandhams I should learn? So that when I go to see Ahobila Swami, he will really recognize me. This is person. I told him, if you listen to that Veda Prasara Samiti tapes and get into that, I don't think you will look for anything else. That itself says, Shrotriyasya chaka mahatasya. I think we translated that in the Srishti, right? Like compares Brahmana, Ananda, it says different levels of Ananda. Then he says for everything it ends with Shrotriyasya chaka mahatasya. The one who is well versed in the Vedas, his joy is higher than of Brahmana Ananda, even of Brahman. So why do you worry about Ahobala Swami? I'm not putting down any Swami, but he said, what is the great use of Ahobala Swami asking you to sit in front of him when you have rejoiced the joy of the Vedas? Vedas themselves say that Shrotriyasya Chaka Mahatasya. So may compare different things. If it becomes one very healthy person, he says one Ananda. Then Indra's Ananda is more, Brahmana Ananda is more. Then king, all that like a table it gives. Whose Ananda is more, whose Ananda is more, like that. At the end, it keeps adding Shrotriyasya Chaka Mahatasya. So the Shrotriya Chaka is not happiness, joy is more than any of these Anandas. So like that, once you read that level, in 1996, I came for a conference in near All India Institute of Medical Science. There they arranged Ustad Bismillah Khan's Shahnoy. And they said for 1 hour, he charged 60,000 rupees. And he came from Banaras, and they tried to put him in a hotel and things like that. No, I will stay in a bungie. So he stayed somewhere. And then after 1 hour, he said that oh, I gave you, I was booked for 1 hour. I don't know Hindi very well, but I was just understanding what he was saying. He said, you gave me for 1 hour. I did that. I'm going to do 1 more hour. How does it matter? He was just enjoying it. So 60,000 rupees for 1 hour. Next hour was free. Then at the end, he said, I know you're all great scientists, this and doctors, whatever, Mahans. Make sure that your kids, that's okay, you can send them to medical school, they send them to IIM, Ahmedabad, all those things, those are all very good. But make sure they have little bit interest in music. They don't have to earn their living by music, but give them some appreciation of music. So that is like a Shrotriyasya Jaka Mahatasya. I think this is what happens. If nobody asks questions, you will hear a lot of my trivial.
I think Anupama ji has a question, Koti ji.
So
Yeah,
I will conclude
namaste.
here. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet.
I think there was
Yeah.
one question.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, namaste. Actually, I joined a bit late. I don't know if this was covered, but you mentioned about the Jivan Mukta. So, are there any Jivan Muktas in the current world? You know, we've heard of people like Ramana Maharshi or say Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. I was
is
just curious.
that is what my friend was telling Sri Rama. He was telling he considers all these people like Chinmayananda and even our Isha Guru. These are all kind of that's what he was telling. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what happens is it's very difficult to uh, recognize one because from the
exactly.
external, uh, there's no difference, right? They will look like you and me. They will speak like you and
Yeah.
me. We all know.
Yeah.
So even with regard to Ramana Ramakrishna or Nisargadatta Maharaj and these people, one can take a kind of educated guess, and whatever they have said is very valuable to sadhakas. So to that extent, it is both original and valuable. But it's very hard to say. Now, somebody comes tomorrow and tells you, "Yes, I'm a Jivan Mukta." So how do we take them seriously? Do we ignore them? It's very hard to say.
Yeah, there is no
But
Jivan Mukta award like Emmy Award and Nobel
yeah,
Prize and things like that. That's the problem. If every year there was a committee selecting Jivan Mukta awards or Bharat
then
Ratna
I would have
or
bribed that committee and got that award.
actually, Devi Gundappa was against even Nanupita awards and that kind of
Yeah,
awards.
yeah,
Yeah, he was telling how can you how can you rate these things?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was in the awards committee. I think he left it telling this is nonsensical to name label these
Yeah,
awards. I was told that even J. Krishnamurti, he was supposed to, he dissolved the society, Theosophical Society. I'm not going to rank you how far you have advanced in your theosophy. I don't give a yellow belt and a black belt and a red belt and things like that. So I am going to dissolve this. So,
yeah. So it's
Right.
difficult to.
I
This
think
is Indira.
Yeah,
Pulgeni.
please.
So the DVG, are you talking about Mankuti Manakagga
yeah,
or
Yes,
are
same
there
person.
any
Yeah,
other things?
So
same
it's the
person.
same. He has written a
So
lot of
I
Mankuti
know he has
Manakaga is
written a
just
lot of books. That's
one
why
of
I was referring. I think it is
in this.
Mankuti Manakigga is considered Jivan Gita or something like that, right?
No, it's called like it has been labeled the Kannada Bhagavad Gita,
Kannada
but he
Bhagavad
has
Gita.
written many other works. Kagga is
Right,
one
right.
of the
Yeah,
small books he has written. He has uh, uh, he has written a lot of other
yeah,
things as well, both in English and in Kannada.
In Canada, yeah.
yeah.
There are lots and
He's,
lots of books, but the one that very popular is Mankuti
Yes,
Manakagga.
yes, correct,
yeah,
Right?
correct,
Mankuti
absolutely.
Manakaga.
I had verses from that when I was going to school in long ago. I'm
Yes,
from
yes,
Karnataka actually. Yeah.
yes,
Hariji
yes.
has actually translated Mankuti
Yeah,
Manakagga into English, if anybody is
with his
interested.
I think
grandmother.
I saw
Yeah,
it on the website. I was going to
Uh,
ask, do we
uh,
get it here, right? It's in the Amazon, not India, Amazon
yeah,
US
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
.com. Yeah.
It's available.
Yeah.
he was well versed in many areas. The Purusha
His
Sukta,
quotes,
Vedas,
I
Upanishads.
like his
18
Hosachi Guru
volumes, 18
Haleberu.
volumes. DVD Kriti
Yes.
Shreni is
Right.
18 fat volumes.
Yeah, 11 volumes in Kannada,
11,
and
11,
now
11 volumes.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I have
and now
only
the
three of them. Yeah, I
yeah
added
now
another
11
seven. Yeah.
I
now
like
there
his
are
Hosachi Guru Haleberu, and it is not relevant
yes,
to this, but
Yeah,
that's my favorite, how he links science and
yeah. It's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
yes,
And even
lot
in
of
English, there are 11 volumes, out of which I think 10 of them are published. 11th is coming out now.
yeah. I
I'm
just
So,
good
did
yeah.
with
three of
Kannada.
them.
I
Yeah.
actually like to read
Number two
these
was
things in
Bhagavad
Kannada.
Gita.
Yeah,
Bhagavad
yeah,
Gita was
yeah.
Mm.
his Jivana Dharma Yoga was number two volume.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
So
nice.
he's
I should now that
he's
I retire slowly. I retired on this Friday, last Friday.
yeah. If there was if a Kannada person has to get Nobel Prize, that should be T.V. Gundappa
Him, yeah,
for Mankuti Manakagga.
itself, yes.
Yeah,
So beautiful, simple,
yeah.
and just to the like hit the spot style, right? Yeah.
Okay, so it's time we'll meet
Yeah.
again tomorrow.
Yato dharmas tata Krishna, yato yata Krishna tato jayah. Okay.